Who else with us? We have about 30 of you. Adela is here. Gabriel, Herna. It's just the three of you. Okay. Gabriel, are you there? Herna?
Yes, madam.
Hi, okay. Della, are you there?
Yes, madam.
Did you prepare something that I asked you last week?
PowerPoint about Syariah economic in Indonesia.
Yes, okay, because I know that you have already prepared because the other group also mentioned that they have prepared, but keep that one with you first, okay? We shall have that one next week on during our lecture. Okay, so for this week, I still need to cover first for our second lecture. So that will actually cover in the following week, which I really hope that the three of you can, Retnor, okay, and Gabriel, okay, four of you, can present it for a while, perhaps like 10 minutes. So that will be on next week, Thursday. Okay, because this topic is a bit lengthy and I don't have any time to allocate for your presentation. Is that okay? Keep it to yourself first because there will be another assignment, not really assignment, but I think it's more on your practice, okay, that you need to share with us, okay, for today's lesson. All right, and in fact, don't worry, not only you, the rest of your friends, local here also, they need to do something, okay? I will assign that one, it will be on your Telegram channel. All right, so let's see. Can you see my slide? Class?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I've already recorded. Okay, so shall we start now? Right. So for today, we're going to start with we're going to touch on Sharia principle for Islamic finance, and from this topic, okay, the learning outcomes that is expected from our session today is to understand more about Sharia, what are the sources, and what are the differences that happens among scholars, meaning that the ikhtilaf, okay, and then fundamental prohibited elements in Islamic finance. What about what is actually risk sharing and in what condition that we should have a risk sharing? Okay, and then some of the issues and challenges in empowering Sharia in Islamic finance. Okay, so basically for those who have the book, okay, I need to get your assistance, meaning that your help to have a screenshots on this topic, especially on the last one, to be shared in the Telegram channel, group. May I know who has the book with you? Local class, mana ni? Anyone? Hi. Why don't you turn on your camera? It looks very nice. Turn on the camera.
I have the book.
Oh, Nushila has it. Okay, so Faris, okay, Amir, Della, right? Okay, be with me because I'll be do the talking and you just need to listen, but at the same time, just turn on your camera. Okay, so not to worry about that. Okay, it's just santai-santai. Do not so stress about this topic. I mean, like this course as well. Right. Okay, thank you so much for turning on your camera. Okay, so coming back to our topic here. So since who else just now? Sheila, right? Sheila. No Sheila. Is it no Sheila?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. You Sheila. Okay, I might need your help afterwards. Okay, to have a screenshot on a certain certain information in the book and to be shared in the Telegram. All right, so let's come back on our slides here. Okay, first of all, okay, what we need to know about Sharia. Okay, Sharia, there are three components. Okay, the first component is known as al-itiqadiyah, okay, al-akhlaqiyah, and al-amaliyah. All right. If you look at the explanation here, when we talk about al-itiqadiyah, it's actually on your belief. Okay, this is actually more on your aqidah. Akikah. See? Aduh, astagfirullahaladzim. Akidah. Okay, this is more on your belief, your faith, and your tawhid, which is your akidah. So we talk about al-akhlaqiyah, akhlaq. So this is more on akhlaq. Not a problem, everyone knows this, right? And the next one, which is the last one, al-amaliyah, that is more on your saying, your doing, meaning that your actions, your behavior, and your relationship with others. And this falls under your fiqh, right? So our topic, normally when it comes to Islamic finance, we are concentrate more on fiqh. Okay. However, when we touch on fiqh, definitely it will relates back to akhlaq and it will relates back to akidah. Look back on your chapter 1. Whatever that we have already mentioned in Sharia, okay, when we talk about Islamic finance, Islamic product, it will goes back to the akhlaq, how we do business dealing in Islam. How do we carry ourselves? Who are we? We are actually the Khalifah, for example. So it comes back to your akhlaq, it comes back to your akidah. So when we touch on fiqh, meaning that it cannot be stand-alone. It will be interrelated between the akhlaq as well as the akidah. Right, so when we talk about fiqh, okay, fiqh, there are two categories or two classes of fiqh. Okay, when we talk about fiqh, it's because we have this kind of relationship. Okay, the first relationship is known as your ibadah, and the second one will be your mu'amalat. Right. So when we talk about ibadah, means that you know this is a relationship between between you, human, and our creator, which is God. Okay. Right. So for mu'amalat, this is a relationship between human and human. Right. So this is what fiqh is all about. So it covers ibadah and mu'amalat. All right. So when we talk about mu'amalat, there will be another categories, or I can say classes that you can relate in. Meaning that what sort of aspect? Okay, it's more on aspect. What sort of aspect that we touch under mu'amalat? For example, the aspect of economy and finance, and then the aspect of family laws, and then the aspect in terms of criminal laws, okay, under human and human relationship, or which is under muamalat, and the last one, which is it will touch on the political aspect. So it covers economy, finance, family laws, criminal laws, and political. These are all under muamalat because it is a relationship between human and human. And when we look at this fiqh, okay, there are two things that you need to remember under fiqh. The first one will be your usul fiqh. Okay, usul fiqh. The second one is your fiqh alone. Okay, what are these? So if let's say a question asks you what does usul fiqh means, okay, usul fiqh is actually the rules and regulations or the underlying principles, rules, and the methodology that we have under the usul fiqh. Okay, in a way, let's turn into conventional. Okay, if let's say in financial reporting, where do we refer to? We refer to our standards. Am I right? And if let's say the standards also does not indicate anything about a certain transactions that we are referring to, or any kind of, related to accounting information, and our standards did not mention that, which documents that we will refer? We will refer to our conceptual framework. Can you see the flow? Right? We go back to the blueprint, meaning that the documents that can guide us. Same goes to usul fiqh. So usul fiqh is actually the methodology, the rules and principles that guide, okay, that guide the jurists. Guide who? The jurists, the scholars, okay, to come up with their certain outcomes, or to come out their certain decisions, right? So that is usul fiqh, whereby fiqh is actually the outcomes, the decisions. Fiqh is actually the decision. So the fiqh in terms of your ibadah and muamalat, it comes from the usul fiqh. What are the methodologies? What are the ways? And how is that? So it's all from usul fiqh in order to come up with your decision of fiqh. All right. So another analogy that I can share here in your slide is is between the product and formula. Product is referred to your fiqh, the outcomes, the results, and formula is actually your usul fiqh. Okay. So these are actually governs under your ibadah and muamalat. Okay, how do you behave? How do you perform in order to have, you know, a good salat, for example? How do you perform your fasting during Ramadan? Is that a good fasting way or not? So everything goes back to your usul fiqh. Okay, that is the thing, and I can share with you. Okay, the next one, when it comes to the fiqh ruling here, okay, as I mentioned earlier, this is more on your criteria of the fiqh, okay? When we talk about fiqh ruling, of course, the source of fiqh, it should be from the Quran and the Sunnah. And it cannot be changed. Okay, if let's say it's from Quran and Sunnah, it cannot be changed. Okay, and this one, it covers ibadah and muamalah, I've already mentioned. All right, so the methodology is there, the way of how to carry out in order to perform your salah, for example, anything in terms of a business transaction. How do you become somebody that is honest, somebody that is transparent? Everything is there. Okay, everything is from our source, which is the Quran and the Sunnah. And as I mentioned, okay, fiqh is actually deduce. Deduce means the decisions. What are the outcomes? And these outcomes comes from the scholars. How they come up with the deduce, the decisions is based on their understanding and interpretation. By reading what? Where is the source? The Quran, the Sunnah, and other various sources that is available under Islamic laws. Right, and of course, when we talk about various sources here, when we talk about fiqh ruling, it is flexible and can be changed according to country, according to the maslahah, meaning that the benefits of the public interest. It can be changed due to a certain a condition. Okay, we have to look at the impact. So that's why it is flexible. Right. If let's say something, okay, do not confuse. If let's say this is in terms of flexible in terms of the decisions, yeah, but the source is of course from the Quran and Sunnah. If let's say it's already stated A is A, B is B, it cannot change. But something which is from various sources, this is the one that we will look after this. The sources besides Quran and Sunnah, it will be flexible and it can be changed. From Quran and Sunnah, you cannot change. Meaning that perform prayers 5 times in a day. You cannot change becoming 4 or 3. No, you cannot change that one. All right, so that is actually your ibadah, which is from the Quran and Sunnah, and you cannot change it. All right, and okay, let's see the sources of your Islamic finance. Okay, what are our sources? We have primary and we have secondary. Primary and secondary. So of course our primary will be our Al-Quran, the Al-Quran and the Sunnah. All right, secondary, it can be ijma, qiyas, istihsan, istihab, and huruf. All right, so what are these? When we talk about Al-Quran, I'm sure that most of us know, okay, because I can say that the majority or mostly are Muslim except Gabriel. Okay, that's why I ask anyone that is non-Muslim. All right, so when we talk about Al-Quran, this is actually the criteria of the Al-Quran or the nature of the Al-Quran. What does Al-Quran contains? Al-Quran is actually the words of Allah that has been passed or revealed to the Prophet of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, in the form of Arabic language that is transmitted between the angel of Jibreel and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, so the revelations of the authenticity, how true is Al-Quran is, has been stated in this surah. Okay, Surah An-Najm, verses 3 and 4. Okay, and then it represents the blueprint for the Islamic way of life. Okay, what does it mean? Al-Quran is the source for all Muslims that governs the way of life of every Muslim, whether it's in the world or hereafter. So meaning that this Al-Quran is eternity, infinity. It will last forever. In fact, even the world has been crashed. Okay, we are actually in the doomsday, kiamat. Al-Quran is still there until the hereafter. So after the those things happen, right? So Al-Quran is still there. So that's the meaning of Islamic way of life. It covers everything. And then the Al-Quran also consists, okay, when it comes to how many surahs or how many chapters, we have 114 surah and 6,235 verses. Okay, so it is Al-Quran is of course is a miracle. Okay, it's a miracle document. Okay, a miracle source that mention about the prophethood of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. All right, and then of course another miracle aspect about Al-Quran is where the language is clear and pure Arabic with a very special linguistic excellence, meaning that the quality. So that's why for those, I mean, like the Arabs, when they pronounce it in terms of the Arab, what do you call this, linguistic pronunciations, okay, those when you read Al-Quran, you must read it with a perfect pronunciation. Okay, meaning that you have to make sure all the sounds, the makhraj, the the hukum and everything it must be a completed one. Otherwise, the meaning will be a different way. So that is a special about Al-Quran. And then Al-Quran contains about what? Contains about information, okay, information and stories, not only in the past but also for the future events. Okay, and it tells about realities in nature, creation of life, the universe, how the earth and the sun, the moon and the stars, everything, okay, that happens in your life. So it explains everything. That's why it is infinity and it's eternity. So it contains law and rules. Okay, this is something which is different from another religion. Okay, of course, another religion, they have their own Bible, they have their own sources, they have their own documents. But how what is the extent, okay, what is the extent of the information that they have in the documents is different from the Al-Quran, whereby Al-Quran covers everything, every single thing that you have in your life, okay, even though it is between yourself, okay, and others, right? So Al-Quran also covers in terms of political, legal, economic, social, moral matters in society. So all of this, okay, how can we ensure that it covers in the Al-Quran? You can see there are 140 verses that explains about ibadah, 70 verses that explains about munakahat, and 70 verses, okay, that explains about muamalat, the relationship just now. Okay, whatever that we have, especially this one. Okay, this is under your muamalat. And then there are examples of Quranic verses related to economy. You can see here Al-Imran, Baqarah, Taubah, Nisa, Araf, and Maidah. There are more actually, but these are only the examples, okay, that I've given. Right, so when we talk about Al-Quran as the first or the primary source, now we move to the Sunnah. Okay, the Sunnah is basically what? The manner, meaning that the behavior and acting of who? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So when we talk about the Sunnah, there are three things that we can refer. Okay, in terms of his saying, meaning that kata-kata, ayat yang dikeluarkan. Alright, so his sayings with regard on a certain matters, especially on religious question. Okay, and his action or his practice, his behavior. Alright, so that is the fi'il. Okay, and then the third one is in terms of taqrir or silent approval, meaning that another action or another practice which is by giving a silent action. Okay, So these are the way or a manner that the sunnah refers to. So mostly it will be, I can say, of course, the saying, okay, and some they will look at on the silent approval and of course actions. Okay, I can say all of it has been practiced and referred in our current what do you call this community, not only in Malaysia but also in Indonesia, in other countries Islam that practice Sharia law or Islamic countries. All right, so if you look at the Sunnah, okay, in the revelations of the Quran, it has mentioned under the Surah An-Najm and Surah Al-Ma'idah. Okay, this is where the revelations or the surah itself has mentioned how the Prophet of Muhammad SAW has been given the responsibility becomes the Prophet. This one. Okay, a power and responsibility of clarifying God's intent in the Quran. Everything is here. So it has already mentioned that the role of the Prophet of Muhammad to the society. Okay, and then under the Sunnah also, okay, the Sunnah also will have this what do you call this, clarified, okay, clarified and intended meaning specified in the role of Sunnah, meaning that the Quran itself already mentioned what if, let's say, you cannot find the source from the Quran, okay, you can refer to the practice, the role of the Prophet of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, look at him, practice whatever that he says, okay, practice whatever he acts, practice whatever that he has in terms of silent approval. Okay, so that is the thing that explains what do you call this decisions, especially the jurists when it comes to Sharia product, in terms of business transactions, when it comes to family laws, criminal, everything is all from the Sunnah, saying, actions. Okay, so the explanation of the methodology, reasons, requirements and locations, this is what already mentioned in the Quran about the role of Sunnah. And then rules and regulation, you can refer to what during the Prophet of Muhammad, okay, during his period, the ruler, I can't remember the names of the ruler, okay, what does the Prophet of Muhammad advise the ruler? Okay, for one of the examples that I can share with you later on is in terms of tax. Okay, so that is actually the practice the Sunnah have already mentioned. The Prophet of Muhammad already mentioned, besides zakat, the government can apply or impose tax to other non-Muslim. Okay, so that is actually the saying during the Prophet of Muhammad. Okay, and then the last one will be the explanation or in terms of decisions. Okay, explanation means that the Sunnah itself, the words and the actions that has been practiced by the Prophet of Muhammad can be an explanation for what the decision of the jurists today, for example. Okay, that is more on the Sunnah. And of course, this is an example you can see in terms of eradications of poverty. They use the Sunnah for what? For example, has been narrated, okay, narrated by Abu Hurairah, meaning that diceritakan kembali, okay, narrated by Abu Hurairah, mentioned again by Abu Hurairah. Once upon a time, during the Prophet of Muhammad life, okay, Prophet usually, often, or maybe always pray to Allah, I seek refuge from poverty, scarcity and ignominy. Okay, so this is what he already mentioned through his words. Okay, in order to ask from Allah to lead him, to guide him in order to eradicate, meaning that to reduce the poverty, show the way. Okay, how? So normally from the prayer, meaning that here to say the actions of to helping others, okay, to helping others is one of the Sunnah action. That is what the Prophet of Muhammad has practiced during those days. That has been narrated by Abu Hurairah. Another one is in terms of private ownership. Okay, private ownership This is actually a story or reported by Aisha. Aisha heard, and Aisha already, maybe Aisha, what we call this, witness the Prophet of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam say to her or say to the companion, okay, whoever cultivates land which is not the property of anyone, meaning that the land is not belongs to anyone, but then you cultivate, okay, vegetables or maybe grains, wheat or barley or rice, has a better title to it. Yes, okay, it's good to let the in a way, how can I say, it's good for you to use the abandoned land to produce something and help the others by giving them back the results. For example, you have found one land, no one owned the land, right? And then you have this green hand, meaning that you love to plant vegetables and you fully utilize the land in order to generate food, okay, for example veggies, chilies and everything, or maybe fruits or dates during the Prophet of Muhammad. So what happened is that your practice of planting these dates, for example, okay, is better rather than those who ignore the land without generating anything. That is one thing. Okay, so that is the meaning of private ownership, because when you cultivate the land, meaning that you plant something, you are actually generating, you are actually contributing to the economy of the country. You contribute to the society as well. By what? By giving, vegetables for free, for example, helping the needers. Okay, those are the things. So that is what Aisha had reported on what the Prophet of Muhammad SAW says. So meaning that in a way, if let's say you found any land abandoned, meaning that no one is actually cultivates anything, you can just fully utilize and let others to enjoy the outcomes. Okay, sekarang ni semuanya, whenever that you found a land, everyone says that is my land. Am I right? Okay, the next one, which is falls under your what do you call this, secondary resources. Okay, secondary resources is your ijma. Ijma is actually, if let's say we cannot find any clarification. I cannot say clarification, but if let's say we confuse, okay, not we, normally the companions, the Muslim scholars, okay, they didn't get the answer, they cannot get the answer from the Quran and the Sunnah, then they will sit together. Okay, for example, like us, okay, musyawarah, for example, we have a meeting, okay, and then we come up with our opinion, our arguments, okay, our views on a certain things, right? So this is what meaning consensus. Ijma is a consensus, okay, unanimous and agreed upon opinion of the companions or of the Muslim scholars. Companions meaning that para sahabat during the Prophet of Muhammad. Okay, if let's say the Prophet of Muhammad is not there, okay, the companions will discuss together. So even the Muslim scholars also, which is called mujtahid, they will also do the same thing. And of course, okay, this is when they cannot find the answer from the Al-Quran and the Sunnah. If let's say they cannot find the answer, or maybe it's a vague, meaning that they confuse, or maybe they dispute arise. I say A, they say B, another person say C. So okay, let's sit together and then we discuss what is your opinion and views, and then we come up with one decision. That is your ijma. All right. So there's a hadith. Okay, there's a hadith whereby ijma should be accepted in our society. So this is where the hadith, okay. And then in fact the authorization, okay, acknowledgement of ijma, meaning that ijma is acceptable worldwide. Okay, not only in Malaysia, not only Indonesia or Singapore or Thailand, but then it goes everywhere. Whoever any countries that practice Sharia law. So the authorization of ijma is acceptable worldwide, Okay, based on the Al-Quran that had already mentioned. If you cannot find the certain law in the Quran and Sunnah, you can carry out an ijma. Okay, this is under An-Nisa and Baqarah. So meaning that consensus, you do sit together and bermusyawarah. Okay, so that is ijma. The second one is your qiyas. Qiyas, another word in Malay we have like kiasan. It's a reflection. Okay, qiyas same goes like kiasan, a reflection. So meaning that when you have a reflection, you are actually measuring or comparing by judging by comparisons. Okay, you are looking at, for example, reflections. You look at yourself and maybe your sister. Okay, so you are actually comparing. Am I considered as a good person because my sister is a good, to me she's an idol, for example, she's my role model. Can I be categorized as a good model as what I what do you call this? I see her. Okay, so you are actually comparing from one thing to another, one matters to another matters. All right. So the acceptable of qiyas, okay, it is also known. It means like worldwide. Qiyas also can be acceptable worldwide. Okay, every country will what do you call this, that practice Sharia law, they will also refer to qiyas. Okay, so qiyas has been mentioned in Surah An-Nisa and Asir. Okay, an example of qiyas, for example, is when you what does it mean by haram? For example, what sort of haram things that we cannot consume, or we cannot what do you call this, categorize under haram. So every intoxicant, khamir, and every form of khamir is haram. So anything that intoxicate, meaning that memabukkan, all right, that can cause you do something else which is can harm your people around you, all right, that is considered haram. And this covers what? This cover in terms of producing, marketing, selling and consuming alcohol. Okay, product is unlawful, haram based on the hukum or khamir, because the Prophet ﷺ says this one. Okay, this is what the Prophet of Muhammad mentioned about haram and intoxication. All right, so that is your qiyas, the reflection. So you need to know if let's say something which is, you know, intoxicated, okay, intoxicated, then it is false haram. So if you look here, it mentions about alcohol. Besides that, there are so many things that is haram. One thing is what? Your drugs, dadah, okay, that is also haram. How it falls under the qiyas? See, the drug itself is not only used in Malaysia, but it's used worldwide. Even Indonesia also, they come up with this qiyas for drugs. The Thailand, everywhere, it's all based on qiyas, because in Quran at that point of time they don't have drugs. Okay, they don't have even, you know, the words of or the terminology for drugs, but they can just do a reflection qiyas, whereby anything that is memabukkan, okay, that when that can influence somebody or individual to do harmful things to others, that is considered haram. Okay, that is one qiyas. Right, the second one under secondary sources is ihtisan. Okay, ihtisan is actually in terms of what we call is involved in the preference of an opinion over another opinion. So meaning that we have to look at the opinion. If let's say the opinion is a positive opinion, and then it has been, you know, used before this for the sake of a certain group of people interest, okay, especially the public, the community, all right, then the opinion is actually the preferred one, okay, the preferred one. Okay, this one, if you have the book with you, okay, chapter 5, ihtisan, ijma' qiyas ihtisan, page 162. Okay, in page 162, it shows here in the second paragraph when we have an itisan in terms of the the contract of salam, for example. Okay, for those who have the book, perhaps you can refer to this paragraph. Okay, how salam, okay, has been used as the analogy to show ihtisan in a certain business transactions. Okay, however, the Prophet SAW made an exemption in the case of salam due to the need of people. See, when you wanted to use a preferred opinion, you have many opinion. For example, okay, opinion A, B, and C. Okay, so which one opinion that champion on based on a certain circumstances? So in the case of for example, okay, in the case of you purchase rice, okay, this is I wanted to relate with salam contract. Not salam is salam, shaking hand, no. Salam contract. So you have A, B, and C. So A says that salam can be used. Salam can be used. For example, salam contract can be used in the case of the product that to be sold is not exist yet, not exist. Okay, what is the one? Okay, one thing that you need to make sure in the Sharia principle, when we do business, the product must exist. Without product exist, you cannot enter into a contract or maybe into a business transaction. That is the principle, the main principle or the main condition under Sharia business. Okay, product must exist. This is the main one. Okay, so if let's say rice, our business is to produce rice. Okay, for example, I go to who are we? Yeah, let me see. Okay, for example, I have Andy. Okay, Andy is is someone who is okay. I'm having a problem with my network. Can you hear my voice, class? Still? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, for example, Andy is actually the farmer. Okay, she has a land and then she cultivates rice. Okay, I'm the wholesaler, meaning that I approach Andy, okay, as a buyer, and Andy is the seller. Andy sell rice to me. However, that the month that I go to Andy is actually the rice is not ripe yet, meaning that tak cukup matang. How can I get the rice? Am I right? Whereby under the Sharia principle or Sharia value, Sharia business transaction, product must exist before I enter into a contract or business transaction. So what happened is that in the one of the opinion, okay, just now I mentioned we have many opinion, okay, A and B, for example. So A says, oh, never mind, we can use salam contract. Whereby B said, no, it needs to be another contract, maybe the normal contract. Meaning that when it comes to normal contract means the product must exist, then I can go to ND, for example. But I said, no, I have to make sure that I book the rice before anyone else come and buy from ND. That is one. I have my reasons why I purchase rice from Andy. Okay, maybe because of the quality of the rice is good, everything. So when they discuss, they say, okay, fine. In the case of this kind of what do you call this product, like rice, any kind of product that have what do you call this, that is not need time to harvest, meaning that memerlukan masa untuk di harvest apa ya? Di apa harvest? Tuai. Okay. Thank you so much. Okay. Tuai. Okay. For apa ni? While waiting for the rice to be tuai harvest. Okay. the Prophet of Muhammad allows this in page 162. Okay, the Prophet Muhammad SAW said that there is an exemption in the case of salam. Okay, this is where we can use this contract, and this is because what? At that point of time, myself as a seller, okay, I need to bring the rice because to replenish in order to sell to my people at my region. This is for my what do you call this, hajjah, or my maslahah, the public interest. So the Prophet Muhammad said, okay, fine, we can get this, we can use salam contract, okay, in order to make sure that the rice can be delivered at that point of time when it has been agreed between the seller and buyer. So business can exist, agreement can be signed, even though the product is not there yet. See, so this is one example under ihtisan is the salam contract. So under ihtisan, you know, ihtisan is something like ihsan. Okay, ihtisan. I cannot say ihsan itself. It's a what do you call this? It is a source that you can refer in a certain condition, in a certain circumstances. Okay, so one of the examples is your salam contract, whereby it's not necessary the product must exist when the business transaction carry out. So meaning that if you enter into salam contract, you can just pay a certain amount as a down payment, okay, and then you just wait Andi to deliver the whole bunch or the whole part of rice to your place, and you will pay Andi the balance. So that is under salam contract. So that's why one thing that the beautiful about Islam in terms of the Sharia business, okay, or the Islamic law is where we don't really harm people. We have to look at your maslahah, we have to look at your difficulties, we have to look at both parties. And of course, I cannot push my vendor, okay, my seller like Andi. No, Andi, you have to make sure that the rice is here now. No, I cannot push her, and in fact, I also cannot be what do you call this? Push away by the seller. Okay, so that is a win-win situation, and it also goes under your ihtisan. Okay, another example that you have here, okay, is in terms of tax and zakat. Okay, this one happens during the Prophet of Muhammad SAW under one of the ruler. I'm so sorry, I cannot remember the ruler. Siapa yang masa tu menjajah dari I don't know which what do you call this, a ruler during the Prophet of Muhammad. Okay, zaman mana? Okay, so what happened is that the Prophet of Muhammad says that, okay, it's like this. We know that zakat is applicable and it is compulsory for all Muslims. So if let's say the country consists of, okay, if let's say 90% of them, they are Muslims and they are applicable with zakat. This is compulsory. So the Prophet of Muhammad advised to the ruler, okay, if let's say, 80% for example, and 20% they are the merchants, pedagang, merchants or traders from another country that makes money, makes wealth and profit in that particular country. So their wealth is actually more than what are the Muslims in the country. So the Prophet of Muhammad said, look, if let's say we collect zakat for the sake of the whole country, what happened to this 20%? They are actually making profit, they are actually making gain, they get so many things from the trading activities. So the Prophet of Muhammad advised the ruler, look, we can apply jizya. Jizya is in the form of tax. Okay, jizya is applicable, imposed to non-Muslim. So they will collect a certain percentage or a certain amount from this merchant in order to help the government, okay, to distribute back to the society of the country that they do the tradings. Okay, so come back to the objective. Okay, the first objective that we have in our first chapter is to have a balanced society. We are helping others. We are not actually making profit without looking others. Okay, we have to be fair and justice. So that's why taxes is also collected from the merchant, because they are rich. Okay, they are rich. So the government is allowed to do that. So this is actually one of the another example, okay, that is acceptable under ihtisan regarding economic, banking, finance and business. So you have zakat and you have taxes, and you have a salam contract as two examples under ihtisan. So it is based on the preference of an opinion. If the country prefer to the view or opinion or the recommendations, then they will go for this. That is falls under ihtisan. The next one is istishab. Okay, the istishab is actually basically applies in our daily living. Okay, daily living. This you can see in page 163. Okay, 163 is a very good example. This is about when you pray in the mosque. Okay, is this hub? You pray in the mosque, for example, I sit in the mosque and I feel like my stomach is upset. Okay, for those who have the book, you can see, you take a look on the Prophet ﷺ say in a hadith. Okay, in a hadith, if any of you feel something in your stomach, okay, means that it's growling, or maybe you got upset. Okay, after you eat after you eat just now your lunch, you feel not comfortable with your stomach. Okay, it is unclear to him, but you don't know why and how, meaning unclear. Okay, whether you wanted, it is just only growling because of too full, or maybe because of something else. All right, so whether something has come out or not, another thing, whether it is something has come out or not, is when you release your wind, terkentut contohnya. Okay, so this is what happened in the mosque. So if, okay, he should certainly not leave the mosque. Tidak patut dia tinggalkan masjid sekiranya tidak ada keluar bau dan tidak ada keluar bunyi. So terkentut. So meaning that leave the mosque is to I don't know, maybe the analogy, the hadith is actually to show that the person, the individual, to go out and to take the ablution or not, it different. Okay, it's something else. So you should not leave the mosque if, let's say, you are not certain. Evidence must be there. So under istishab, whatever that you wanted to assume, there must be evidence. Okay, istihab is more on assumptions that must have evidence. Okay, in the case of hadith that I have mentioned just now, if in terms of leaving the mosque. Okay, here you have another example when you don't see your friend for so long and you feel doubtful. Hey, what happened to him? What happened to her? Is she still alive or dead? Right. So under the istihab deduction, under istihab, go back to your assumption, must have evidence. If you have not received any evidence, okay, anyone that tells you that she or he is dead, then you should assume that he or she is still alive. So that is the thing under your istishab. Can you follow me, class?
Yes,
Class? Yes, okay. Yes. Okay, and then the next one will be under your maslahah mursalah. Okay, maslahah mursalah is another beautiful things whereby this is the common jurist scholars, especially in Malaysia, use. Okay, maslahah. Maslahah is something that you don't regulate. There is no standards, there is no law, there is no regulation on maslahah decision. Okay, always remember, what are we looking at? We are come up with the decision now. Okay, either in terms of the first one, Al-Quran, because we know we need to come up with a decision. What is our decision? The Sunnah, okay, the Ijma, the Qiyas, is all to to derive with decision. And the last one, the next one will be your maslahah. Maslahah also another decision. However, this is also another unregulated, see, unregulated. However, the maslahah that they derive or the decision that they derive is actually for the public interest. One example that I can share with you here is in terms of vaccination. Okay, so vaccination, when they introduce, okay, the government encourage all the nation to take the vaccination. Why? Because of the maslahah. That is their reason. Maslahah of the public interest, or they say it is for the public interest benefits. Why? If you take vaccine, for example, okay, they said that the vaccination will reduce the chances of you to what? To affect another person, okay, or maybe the chances of getting difficulties in terms of the illness, the hardships of the illness, okay, it will not be worse, okay, maybe it will be, you have the opportunity to live another year or another, I don't know how many years. All right, so that is the maslahah when it comes to vaccination, because yes, vaccination they use in terms of maslahah for the public interest. Okay, so that is one of the thing. In fact, when we talk about the product also, Islamic product also, there is a maslahah that they what call this, they design. So they design for the public interest. For example, simple example I can share with you, the moratorium. Okay, moratorium, the mora, we call it as mora. Those who are in finance, they call it as mora. Mora, when they introduce moratorium, I'm not sure those our friend from Indonesia. Do you have moratorium in Indonesia, class? Della, do you know what moratorium is? Do you have that in Indonesia?
I don't know, sir. I never
Okay. All right. So moratorium is actually a provision. Okay, a provision that the government, it's not regulated. It is actually given. Okay, it's given automatically, a provision to waive. To waive means that to waive in terms of what? To waive installment payment. Installment payment to the banks. Okay, any kind of payments that you have, for example, like home loan, okay, vehicle loan, or maybe takaful premium monthly that you contribute, or insurance, anything that to do with banking and financial institutions. So you are free from payment, pay them for 6 months. This is what happened for the first moratorium that we have in Malaysia. Okay, we have that from where? From April until October. Can't remember. Okay, or maybe March until September. Either one. Can anyone check? My local student? From where? Class? Anyone? No? Class? Anyone knows when this the first moratorium happened? The government announced. Amir? Apa ni? Duduk rumah tak tahu. Final year student. But moratorium also don't know.
Saya Google, dia keluar 7 Julai onward.
You Google 7 Julai. Julai when? Julai ni ke Julai lepas?
Julai 2021.
April madam.
2021 tahun ni. Kita pandemic last year. The first moratorium.
April, madam. April
Yes,
2020.
April, exactly. April until October. Ya Allah. Amir keras je. Kata final year student. Moratorium tak tahu. Aduh. Okay. So this is what happened, and it falls under maslahah. Non-regulated, tak ada regulation. There's no regulation. But the government take the initiative. They said that it is for the public interest. And again, okay, in this year, just now your friend said July. Yes, we do have until today. Okay, the government says, okay, the moratorium will not be the same as what we offered the first time. No, this one, the second time they offer is an option. If you feel that you cannot pay monthly, you can take the option to accept it. However, there are conditions that you have to fulfill. Condition meaning there will be a certain fee plus fee, installment plus your fee, or maybe plus markup. If let's say you take for another 6 months, you don't want to pay, and then in the month of in the 7th month, then you will feel another difficulties because the cost of your installment from 300 maybe become what? 400. Because of the deferred, there's a deferred payment. You menangguhkan. So when you deferred payment, there will be another problem. So basically, this is another point of maslahah. They still allow. It's actually for the public interest. You want, you take it. You don't want, no one can force it. Right? It depends on the circumstances. They offer this one because of the economy is actually functioning, started to function well. Okay, especially in Malaysia, right? So that is maslahah. The next one would be sa' al-darai. Sa' al-darai means that you are blocking the means. Okay, the decision to block your intention. Okay, this happen especially when you feel that a person is not deserved to get certain things. Okay, example here is to give credit cards. What happen if I give credit cards? Wow, I give pula. The Bank Islam give credit cards to those have low credit rating or credit worthiness. What happened? So if let's say Bank Islam still give credit cards to this low credit worthiness individual, meaning that will cause accumulation of debt. And in the end, it will harm the person. Habislah. The debt is increasing like this. And of course in Islam, when you have debt, meaning that you have to do settlement sampai mati. See? Alright, so if let's say you have a person here, your salary is about 1,200, okay, and let's say your credit worthiness, meaning that your assessment of your credit standing, you have the bank will check, do you have assets, meaning that savings, or maybe intangible assets, IA. Do you have liability? They will look at your liabilities. Do you have what? Not savings. Do you okay, employed meaning salary? Okay, it's okay. So either assets and liabilities should be enough. So if let's say your liabilities here, you have what? You rent a house. Rent a house is about 600. I don't know. In KL, you cannot get 600 for a house. In fact, a room also will cost you 600. Okay, and then your liabilities, besides rent, you need to pay utilities bill. Utilities bills 100. And then you have to pay your bike. For example, motorbike, in order for you to go to work. Your motorbike monthly payment is about 200. Okay, and then where else? Your living cost, daily living cost, meaning that your food, meals and everything, that will comes 400. Ni tak masuk lagi petrol. Here also already 1,000. See? See, these are the things that they will look at. If let's say your credit worthiness is low, they look at your expenses here is very big, your liabilities. Should you, as a bank officer, should you approve the application of credit cards to this person? Logically. Someone?
Logically, no.
Yes, exactly true. Because why? Because you are leading to a him or her to accumulate more debt, lebih hutang, right? And in the end, you will have financial problem. When you have financial problem, a lot of things happen. That is actually harming the person. Okay, so under the sources, okay, under this source of Sharia law, they said that we can use Sad al-Darai on the base of to protect a person rather than to harmful a person. So not granting a credit card is a good choice rather than giving the credit card. So that is actually a Sad al-Darai, which is blocking the means. Blocking the means, you block, okay, the intention of a certain person, right? Okay, so that is Sad al-Darai. The next one, uruf. Okay, what does it mean, uruf? Uruf, in other words, okay, I normally was share with my student, uruf is your norms, kebiasaan. If let's say you wanted to come up with a certain decisions, okay, you will look at uruf. Okay, if let's say you go to Al-Quran, you cannot get, it's not clear, you go to Sunnah or during the Prophet Muhammad, there's no, what do you call this, decision or things like this. You go to Qiyas, Qiyas also cannot, okay, because Qiyas have a different opinions. Okay, I cannot follow your opinion because your is different, your country and my country is different. So you cannot apply all of this and then you look at your norms, meaning that your society norms in Malaysia, for example. Okay, so we need to look at our customs and social habits. One example that I can share with you in terms of what? In terms of the uruf of gold zakat. Okay, especially when we talk about gold jewelries. Jewelries. Right. So different region in Malaysia will have different uruf. Like Kelantan, zero uruf. Okay, like Kedah, it will be 120 gram, for example. Like this is an example, yeah. Okay, Kelantan, yes, zero. Kedah 120 or less than that. I think 80. Okay, Selangor is about 80 gram, and then Kuala Lumpur or Wilayah Persekutuan also is about 80 gram uruf. Sabah and Sarawak is different. They are about, they are using in terms of value. Ringgit Malaysia, how much? Okay, so these are all the uruf. See, different region in Malaysia will have different uruf based on our custom. Kelantan, why the uruf is 0? Selangor, why the uruf is 80? We are looking on the sake of what? Customs and social habits. This is not written in the Quran in terms of uruf, no. Tak ada. Does the Quran states about uruf in Kelantan? No, right? The Quran didn't state that. Okay, so uruf basically happens, the decision for a small, normally it will be like a small matter, not really small matters, but a small group of people. Okay, and as long that the uruf, okay, if let's say they wanted to use the uruf, the custom or the norms, it should not contradict Sharia law. This is very important. Nanti jadi lain pula your akidah. Okay, it should not contradict the Sharia law. So who can come up with this uruf? We go back to the jurists. Jurists will do this for us. You don't have to come up with your own uruf. Okay, jangan pandai-pandai you become the scholars or the jurists. We are not, we don't have the knowledge. Only the specific peoples, okay, when they have a very good draft in terms of this Islamic knowledge, then they can come up with a decision. So this is the uruf. Right, the next one, okay, I think that's all for the sources. Right, so you have about 8 or 9 sources, all right, starting from your Al-Quran, Sunnah, Ijma, Qiyas, Istisan, Istisab, Sa'ad, and then Maslahat and Uruf, something like that. Okay, so you have to know this, okay, because why? Because whatever that we have today will reflect to the next chapters. All right, so the next one will be your variations of opinion, where we talk about ikhtilaf. Variations happen, yes. of course variation happens. Because why? Different people will have different practice, different country will have different style, okay? And you look at, for example, among the school of thoughts, we have Shafi'i, Maliki, Hanafi, and Hanbali. Okay, even though they are our what do you call this, jurists, okay, but still, even though the process to come up with one decision is slightly different. Okay, even though the source is from the Quran, even though the source from the Sunnah, but the decision that they come up is still a bit different. Why? Because you have to look at the culture in a broad ways. Many things. It comes back to the society, the people itself. People. That's why people is very important. Okay. So when we talk about variation, normally variation, perbezaan, ikhtilaf happens for two things. Okay. The first one is because, oh, sorry, the two things is here. All right. This is actually, no, this is when, okay, when or where it can happen. One is from the categories of textual evidence, text, penulisan. All right. Textual evidence, texts are issues which are not open for changes and development. Ikhtilaf will not happen when it comes to this one. This is something which is not will happen, variation. The decision of opinions about syurga and neraka, okay, hell and paradise, no one can change this. This is only known by the creator, the God, right? And then aspect in marriage, the rukun of marriage also will not be changed. It is stated in the Quran. Okay, except for the current one. Okay, some certain customs have, you know, added into this what do you call this, marriage cases. For example, they just add because we know that the rukun of the marriage is there. Okay, you must have the witnesses, you must have the bridegroom, you must have the person who's going to read the akad. Okay, you must have the mahar, apa ni, apa mas kahwin, okay, something like that. Okay, so that is actually the one that we have already designated in the Quran. In fact, when we talk about mas kahwin just now, when I mentioned, okay, yes, there is something our custom have already changed. Because why? We look at our people. Okay, before this, when we wanted to get married during the Prophet of Muhammad, they don't have, it must be a gift from a man to a wife, for example. So what sort of gift? There is no specific gift, okay, as long it is a gift that can benefit both parties. But nowadays, you can see the gift can be in terms of value. Okay, so this is the things that change. Okay, so do not confuse. Those who are the basic things like the rukun, it will stay as it is. But the other things is actually changed because of because of the people itself. As as the world, the people is growing, the knowledge is there. This is something that we have already changed. Okay, so and then another textual evidence, okay, that can open to divergence. This is where, in terms of Islamic commercial and finance law, yes, when I said that, for example, ba'inah, okay, in the case of ba'inah is the credit term. Okay, ba'inah is acceptable in Malaysia but not acceptable in Indonesia, for example. Why? Okay, for example, Malaysia follow Shafi'i. Am I right, class? Shafi'i
Yes.
kita.
Yes.
The majority practice, okay, the majority practice, whatever that we do in Islamic commercial or finance law, we will follow Shafi'i. But if let's say Shafi'i doesn't have that decision, okay, or maybe statement, we can also refer to Hanafi, Maliki, and Hanbali, okay, because they came from the same root. There's no difference. They refers to the Quran, they refers to the Sunnah, okay. except that they are the jury, they are among the scholars, okay, among the jurists that have a different views and thought. Itu sahaja. Okay, so in our case Malaysia, we are convenient, we prefer Syafi'i because it suits with our custom, it suits with our people. Malaysia, Malaysia ni kan unique, for example, alright. But again, like Indonesia, okay, let me ask our friend Indonesia, which mazhab that you follow, the school of thought? The majority, the majority. Class? Our friend Indonesia.
I think Shafi'i too.
Syafi'i juga. Okay.
Yes.
Rizalullah, are you sure Syafi'i?
Because I according my
Really?
teacher,
Oh.
religion teacher, I ever heard about Shafi'i.
Syafi'i, yeah? Okay, yes, great. Yes, it's true, Rizalullah. Okay, we have Syafi'i Indonesia. Okay, the majority, of course, they will follow Syafi'i. Okay, because we came from the same root, same custom. Okay, but again, some region in Indonesia they follow Hanafi. You kena ingat. Alright, because they feel that the Syafi'i doesn't suit them. Itu sahaja. Okay, but there is no right, there is no wrong. Alright, so whatever that Rizalullah mentioned just now, yes, it's true. Syafi'i in Indonesia. The other class said Hanafi. Maybe because of his region is following the Hanafi. Okay, so same goes to the Middle East. Middle East, they don't follow, they follow Syafi'i, yes, Syafi'i, Maliki and Hanafis as well. Some they follow Hanbali. Okay, the way that they pray. Yes, anyone? Anyone wants to say anything? No. Okay, so that is actually where divergence, okay, divergence will happen in terms of Islamic commercial and finance law. Because why? Because this is where in terms of the interpretation. Okay, when we talk about the top one, which is this one, the text one here is already stated in the Quran. So that's why there is not much variation happens. Okay, when we talk about the hell and the heaven, no one can against and challenge that because we don't know and it's already stated in the Quran. But when we talk about commercial, yes, it follows a certain country's regulation, policies, standards, and everything. So that's why we have a divergence here. So divergence is the differences in terms of opinion, where we call it as ikhtilaf. Okay, among who? Among scholars, not among us, yeah? Okay, so what are the reasons why this happened? Okay, one of the reason is because of understanding. Yes, my understanding in terms of certain things will have different from another lecturer, for example. Okay, my understanding about can you give me a second? I need to take this call. Sekejap je.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my slide, class? Okay,
Yes,
so coming
okay.
back here. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, so understanding. So when we talk about understanding here, my understanding will be different. Okay, in fact, when we talk about certain things just now, maybe as you go through with my lectures, some of your friends may understand in this way. Some of your friends say, I don't understand. I understand in a different way. See, this is where the understanding also can be the reasons for your interpretation of what? Of the word in the text, whatever that is written. Okay, so an example here is gold and silver. Okay, gold and silver is equivalent to the real commodities or currency because these two metals had been used as a currency during the time of Prophet. Okay, so different juries will reject, not really reject, they don't accept, okay, the gold and silver can be part of the commodities. Unlike like Malaysia, we accept, okay, gold and silver can be part of the commodities or the currency because of this, what do you call this, because of the sunnah that have already mentioned, or maybe because of the ijma and qiyas as well. All right, so that in Malaysia, we will accept it. Right, in other countries, they don't accept gold and silver to become a real commodities. They don't accept it still, even though it has been used during the time of Prophet. But, okay, they don't accept it because of the word actually. Okay, the word in terms of the interpretation. Maybe to them, during the Prophet Muhammad used the real commodities, the gold and silver in another way. Maybe in a meaning here, gold can be, can be used on a certain situations, or maybe in certain ways, a certain methodology. That is what they believe. But for trading, for commodities, they don't accept it. See, there are two different understanding. Can use, yes, can use, but my can use is different. Your can use is different. I don't reject. I don't reject. Gold and silver can be part of the practice in finance, but I don't. My ways and your ways is different. So that is in terms of understanding. The next one, differences over narrations. Okay, your narrations means that your how do you deliver, okay, the narrations, pembacaan of the sunnah, for example. Okay, so the narrations of the sunnah itself also can be part of the reason we have conflict in term among the jurists. As I mentioned to you, al-ba'inah. Shafi'i allow inah, okay. Hanafi does not accept inah. So that's why I say Indonesia, some of them, they still use, okay, Hanafi, whereby they reject, they don't reject, but they don't accept it. Okay, I accept your opinion, but I don't want to practice because I don't feel like inah is suitable for our country, for example. Because why? The Hanafis believe that based on the narrations of the Sunnah, they read through over and over again, they said that the inah has the element of riba. This is an example. I'm sharing with you. Okay, class, I'm sharing with you actually. Inna has the element of riba. This is based on the Hanafi's followers. This is what they read. Okay, the narrations of the Sunnah. Okay, the third one, conflict of the applications of principles. Principle also another problem. Example, tawaruk. Malaysia, Shafi'i says, okay, we can use sukuk tawaruk. Middle East, the Arabs, they don't accept tawaruk. That one was like 5 years ago. But nowadays, they have sit together with our juries, the other countries' juries. They have discussed about tawaruk in the form of Sharia perspective and Islamic finance law. They say, okay, look, we have already see the reasons why this country like UK use tawaruk, Malaysia use tawaruk, Australia use tawaruk. Okay, now we can accept based on your explanation. Everything has been justified. They do this consensus, right? So because of that, nowadays Middle East have already accepted sukuk tawaruk in their country. So whenever that we issue sukuk tawaruk, they also can become one of the depositor. Okay, they can accept the sukuk tawaruk when it comes to business transaction for their securities. Right, and then the next one in terms of qiyas. Qiyas is qiyasan, as I mentioned to you, it's a reflection. Different people will have different reflections of view. When you have different reflections, of course, your perceptions, your opinions will be different, right? So example, ilah for food. Okay, ilah for food. Ilah means reflections. How do you categorize a certain food that it can be eaten, for example? For example, like the characteristic of food that can be eaten, meat that you can be eaten, the red meat, like daging apa yang boleh ni samakan dengan buffalo and your cows? Daging apa lagi boleh makan selain Kelas? Anyone?
Rusa.
Rusa. Seladang. Yes. Kuda boleh ke? I'm asking you. I never eat kuda. Boleh ke kuda?
Tak pernah pula.
Tak pernah dengar kan?
Kuda boleh kalau bukan untuk menunggang.
See? Dia ada jawapan. Bukan kalau. Kalau is the ilah condition. Alright. Very good. Siapa yang jawab tadi tu? Satu-satunya student I dapat jawab. Okay. So, dia hanya dia untuk ternakan, untuk makan lah. Jadi you when you have this horse, okay, I think the horses punya the breed baka pun ada certain baka kan yang you boleh buat untuk for you to sell as a food, part of the raw meat. Okay, there must be a condition. So one of the condition your friend has already mentioned, tunggangan. Tunggangan means that you use for the business purposes lah, you use for racing lah, you use for sports and everything. So it's a basic use. That is actually the use of the horse, which you cannot the what you call this the categories of that kind of horse should not falls under the meat that to be eaten. Okay, unless darurat lah, itu beza. Itu berbeza sangat dalam kes yang lain. Alright. So that is actually the reflection whereby when I ask you, how can you determine the daging kuda can be eaten? And then when your friend said that is actually the ilah and the qiyas. See? So the qiyas means the reflection. How can you determine something to be part of the certain categories? Same goes to zakat. Okay, zakat. I'm quite familiar with zakat because I taught zakat before. So if let's say you have a mineral in terms of contohnya apa saja mineral lah, in terms of mineral is a raw material that you found in the ground, for example, right? And then you call it as a mineral. Okay, and this mineral actually give you wealth, kekayaan, whereby you can sell it. You can sell it. Macam bauxite tu pun you can sell it, right? So when you can sell the mineral or it creates wealth, of course we are responsible to pay zakat from the mineral that we sell, the income. All right. At what percentage, at what portion that we can charge the mineral for zakat? Kita tak tahu. Dalam Quran, in the Quran, there is no stated directly that mineral is how much percent, how many percentage, the proportion. No, it's not stated in the Quran, it's not stated in the Sunnah. But where can we get this? Where the decision that the jurists can come up with a certain percentage. For example, 2.5%. This is an example, yeah? Okay, 2.5%. It's actually different. Okay, so the qiyas, okay? The qiyas said, okay, look at the mineral characteristic. Okay, if let's say it categorize something like this, can it is in demand, there is a supply, it can be traded, it can be this. Oh, this one is quite similar to the gold and silver. See, mineral can be part of gold and silver. So like gem, batu permata, there is not stated in the Quran how much is the zakat that you have to pay on behalf of the batu permata, the gem, what do you call this? Yes, so many things of the mineral, right? So you can take gold and silver as part of the qiyas, as part of the ilah in order for you to pay the zakat. So this, I think those who have taken zakat accounting before, you are familiar with the ilah word, all right? So that is under your qiyas. So of course, qiyas also have a different view, different ilah, because my perception, I feel that it suits under gold and silver. Some of you say no, it could be under certain things like commercial product. Oh, see, that is what your opinion is. So that is the reasons for conflicting of rulings. Okay, the fundamentals of value, okay, or the fundamentals prohibitions in Islamic finance. As usual, we know there are three. The first one, riba. Okay, the second one is gharar. Okay, uncertainty. The third one is gambling, maizir. Okay, so when we talk about riba, there are two types of riba. Riba that is attached on the loan contract. Whenever that you take loan, there will be P plus I. This is your riba under riba al-duyun. Okay, P plus I will be under riba al-qad, whereby it is interest due to loan. Whereby if let's say your P plus I and then you default in payment, you do not pay for 2 months. Each month you have to pay 300 and 300, so it becomes 600, you default. So this amount will charge another interest. This interest is known as riba al-jahiliyah, penalty. Okay, so that is one type of riba that is attached under your loan contract. The second riba is in terms of exchange of contract. Exchange of contract means what? When you change with a similar product, same product. Okay, this is riba al-buyu. Most of us, we are not aware about this, but some of us, we actually, you know, sometimes we say, okay, can I borrow your pen, for example. You use your friend's pen, and then borrow means you will give back with the same condition, right? Okay, so this is what happened under riba al-buyu. Riba al-buyu, it's the exchange of contract that refers to ribawi item. There are 6 types of ribawi item. Okay, that is contains the riba: gold, silver, dates, okay, wheat, salt, and barley. This ribawi item, these are called ribawi items. So whenever that you will ask about ribawi item, these are ribawi item. Allahu Akbar. Gold, silver, dates, wheat, salt, and barley. Okay, if you have the book with you, turn to page 182. Okay, so under this ribawi item, okay, what the main keywords, okay, the main criteria of your ribawi item, why it is prohibited to change dates and dates, barley with barley. Okay, two things that you need to remember. It's all about quality and time. I normally will include time, even though the book does not mention about time. It's more on the quality, but I will add time. Why? Okay, look at Mr. A, Mr. B. Mr. A says that Mr. A has barley, for example. Grade A. Mr. B borrow from Mr. A barley. Okay, borrow 1 kg. So Mr. B said, okay, Mr. A, I will return back to you 1 kg tau, barley. All right. Whereby Mr. B knows that the barley that he produced is actually the quality is double A. Okay. When Mr. B returned to Mr. A, which Mr. A doesn't know about the barley quality because he assumed that Mr. B is returning with the same quality. So who is making profit here? Mr. B. Why? Because he gets 1 kg of AAA and he sells at higher price. The profit that he gets or he gains is actually under riba al-buyu. See, barley and barley. When you exchange something like this, it will cost you a riba. Another thing in terms of time. When I said that time, it means that if, okay, this one also goes, if I mention about time, it also will also touch on the quality as well. For example, Mr. B also produced AAA. The moment that Mr. B borrow from Mr. A, okay, it's fresh harvest and sent to Mr. B, 1 kg, fresh. When Mr. B wanted to return to Mr. A, same quantity, same quality, but this barley has already harvested 3 months ago. 3 months ago. Difference? Fresh and 3 months ago? Yes. Does the barley carries a good quality as what Mr. A passed to Mr. B? No. Is there any riba? Yes, riba happens in the product that Mr. B has already received from the fresh barley. See, that's why in Islam we are prohibited to exchange with the same product. Okay, your friend just now, siapa yang ada book? Who has the book? Tadi siapa ya? Siapa?
Sheila.
Sheila. Sheila, can you help me? Screenshot table 5.2 page 183. Boleh?
Okey, boleh.
Okay, screenshot and share in the class Telegram. Okay, Bali with Bali. See, this one is a very good a summary table of summary. Okay, and then the next one, gharar. Gharar means what? Gharar means your uncertainty. When we talk about uncertainty, okay, of course, this is always relate back to your risk. There are two types of gharar and risk. Okay, when we talk about major gharar and a major gharar, uncertainty. Okay, in other words, under uncertainty, I don't like to use uncertainty. I love to use dah tak nak pusing pula. Gharar, uncertainty happens when your contract is vague or ambiguous. Apa ini? Samar. Tak nampak? Kabur. It's not clear. You did not specify your product in a proper way. You did not specify the quality. You do not specify the delivery date. For example, delivery date. You do not specify the payment mode, how and everything. Once you do not specify this, your contract is vague and ambiguous, meaning that you are in major gharar and your contract can be void. It's not clear. Why should I enter? And of course, if let's say you bring the contract to the court, they will say this is a vague contract. It's not valid and it's void. Whereby, okay, there is also a minor gharar. When we talk about minor gharar, this is acceptable. Why acceptable? Minor gharar is because the uncertainty happens without control. You cannot control. Uncontrollable. Okay, uncontrollable. Can you give me some time to finish up until like page 29 tu? Sekejap
Okay.
Okay. Tempat ni azan ni. Okay, azan kuat. Sekejap. All right. Okay. Okay, so I have another 4 slides to go. Right. So coming back to here. Okay, when we talk about, class, are you still with me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. All right. Okay. So when we talk about minor gharar is acceptable because this is unavoidable. Unavoidable means uncontrollable. Okay, so for those who have taken corporate finance and Islamic finance, your financial market, okay, if you still remember, we have uncontrollable risk that is falls under systematic risk. Right, because gharas normally associate with risks. So systematic risk, one example, when you do import and export, you are exposed to the change of currency rate. Who can control currency rate? No one. Okay, you will expose with the change in terms of interest rate. Interest rate. Who can control interest rate? No one. Okay, so of course in Islamic finance, we don't take interest, but of course we don't have a platform to set our profit margin. So which benchmark that we will refer? Of course, Islamic finance also will refer to Dow Jones. This what do you call this indicator in terms of, you know, to calculate the interest and everything, we still refer to the conventional. One of it is Dow Jones. So in fact, Islamic finance also will be based on Dow Jones interest rate, or I mean like the movement, the volatility and everything. So these are a part of your systematic risk that you cannot control, and this type of risk is actually under minor gharar. When it falls under minor gharar, means that it is acceptable. So not to worry about minor gharar, and your contract is still valid. Okay, as long that you follow the Sharia principles, and it should not affect both parties, either one. Okay, and then the gharar, okay, they are references to modern financial transactions. Okay, gharar also happens in terms of non-existence of the subject matters. As I mentioned earlier, one of the principle, if let's say you wanted to do in Islamic finance or Islamic business dealing, you have to make sure that the product exists. Without the product exists, there will be no transaction. Asset, salam. In the case of salam contract, different. Okay, so if let's say you enter into murabaha is where the goods should be ready. Murabaha jual beli macam biasa saja. Alright, so if let's say if the seller says, okay, do you want to buy my gold? I say yes. Where's the gold? Oh, it's actually in a safekeeping. Where you have to show an evidence. I mean, like, you know, that is actually to show that the product is exists and transaction can happen. Okay, if let's say the seller says that, okay, it has there but it's still vague, okay, then you cannot enter into this contract, because the elements of gharar occurs. The next one is where there is an accuracy of information, meaning that the information is like insufficient information. It goes back to your vague, ambiguous. Information is not in detail, okay, and then in your contract, all of a sudden you combining from two contract into one contract. Okay, for example, like I purchase a vehicle and then I purchase another equipment. So your vendor say, oh, never mind, we can just combine into one contract. There's no such thing. There is no such thing of combining two sales into one. That is another gharar will happen. So These are among the transactions, okay, that can what do you call this? Can refer as gharar, when there is no existence of the subject matter, when there is inaccuracy of information or insufficient information, and then when there is a complexity, meaning that a suspicious thing happened in the contract, and all of a sudden maybe in the contract says the dealing is between myself and Amir. All of a sudden I say, Amir, payment is made to another person. Okay, fine, I'm the middleman, it doesn't matter. Maybe I'm not the seller, maybe I just bring you and the other person. That's different. Okay, but if let's say the contract is between us, the two of us, okay, when we do the transactions, all of a sudden I say, okay, payment should be made into this account. Who is this person? That is another gharar happen. Okay, then the last one is the prohibitions of gambling. Gambling, okay, fine, you know what gambling is, right? Betting and winning it. Okay, the fourth one that I wanted to add here is, if let's say your transaction should not, it is prohibited in terms of any elements, okay, any business involved or contains the elements, okay, the prohibitions element, the prohibited elements such as liquor, pork, alcohol, pornography activities, etc. Anything that is prohibited under the Sharia. Okay, contains prohibited elements under Sharia, such as liquor, alcohol, pork, pornography, and etc. So I'm adding another one here, so for you to understand, right? Because if you look at hotels and everything, because this is very important, in our next chapter later on, because you need to know when, for example, at hotels, of course they sell liquor, okay, they also sells pork. But how do they count if let's say they wanted to be for part of Islamic market? That so need to know here, right? And then when we talk about risk, okay, when I talk about risk here, mutually risk taking. Mutually risk taking means that you are sharing your risk. You can share your risk when, of course, when there is an element of riba, gharar, and gambling, you cannot share your risk, okay? But you can only share your risk when it comes to this, when you involve in the business under normal risk, okay, under normal cost of risk, then you can share. One example, how? Through musyarakah. Okay, another one is you wanted to share your risk of natural disaster, contohnya flood, okay, and then what, tsunami whatsoever. How? You can share your risk through takaful plan. Or if let's say another thing that you wanted to share your risk is by not doing anything, meaning that you do not involve, especially in terms of entrepreneur business, meaning that you don't involve into business, then you should not share the risk with others. So there is no risk, okay? And then if let's say in terms of natural disaster, this is something unavoidable. Okay, the third one is unnecessary risk, not part of everyday life, but arise from games of chance created by people. So this is actually created by people. If let's say you don't enter into business, meaning that there is no risk. If let's say you enter into what, a game, or maybe a competition, is there any risk? It depends. Okay, if let's say the competition does not contains the element of riba, gharar, and mazir, okay, but it's for the country, of course you can take what, the risk of, in terms of you are the sportsman, for example, competition, you can take takaful plan to cover your risk being a sportsman on behalf of the country. See, this is actually the risk that created by people. Look at what you are doing. All right, and the last one here is something that your friends Sheila, okay, Sheila, you need to help us, okay. Sheila, you should, if you can, please take a screenshot. Okay, page 188. Okay, here it mentions about the challenges and the prospect in terms of Sharia principles for Islamic finance. Okay, what are the challenges? The first challenges, okay, in terms of maximizing utilization of Sharia principle. Currently, we are not maximizing our Sharia principle, maximizing of utilization Sharia principles. We are not maximizing it. If you look at some of our product, we are still not maximize our Sharia principles. That is the challenges. The second one is in terms of interpretation, differences in terms of interpretation. We have different views, different interpretation when it comes to Sharia laws. Okay, we try to harmonize. The third one, just like accounting standards, we try to harmonize through what? Through convergence, for example. Okay, the third one is in terms of to ensure high quality of Sharia standard. Sorry, ensuring a high quality and standard of Sharia services. Okay, to improve, okay, quality and standard of Sharia services, especially in Islamic bank, okay, financial institutions. And then the fourth one under challenges is where in terms of understanding the maqasid al-Sharia. Okay, maqasid Sharia, this one I wanted you to read through what does it mean by maqasid Sharia, but generally I can share with you there are 3 layers of maqasid Sharia. When we talk about maqasid Sharia, this is actually the level of our needs. Okay, do you know Maslow theory? Maslow theory, this one. Maslow theory. Class? Ni dah habis ke? Semua dah balik? Okay. Conventional, we have Maslow theory. Okay, Maslow theory when it comes to the needs. Same goes to Islam. We have 3 types. Okay, the first one is known as the necessities, daruriyah. This is something which is necessary. Necessities, daruriyah. Okay, daruriyat. Okay, for example, clothing, shelter, and food. This is your necessities. Without this, you cannot live. Yes. Okay, the second one will be under hajiyat. That is removing hardship. You remove the hardship. For example, you have the 3 necessities. Okay. Okay, you wanted to have money to buy, to have a shelter, rent a house, and then you need money to buy food and clothing. Am I right? So how are you going to get money? You work. Maybe motorbike. So by getting the motorbike, that is actually under your second maqasid al-Sharia, that is hajiyat. You need to understand this one because this is very important for your product. And then the last one will be tasniyat, that is beautifying or luxury. Yang ini, beautify. This is an extra money. If let's say you have extra money, then it will be falls under beautifying or tasniyat, luxury, tasniyat. For example, for ladies, for women, they love gold. When they have extra money, they will buy gold. Okay, that is more on beautifying. Gold jewelry does not falls under necessities. It does not falls under daruriyat or hajat. It falls under tasniyat. So you need to know the level of the things that you buy, whether it is fall under daruriyat, hajat, or tasniyat. So these are another challenges that some people they don't understand, and they just develop a product which is not necessary. This is something that we have in our Islamic finance problem. Okay, the prospects, I really hope that Sheila can share with us. There are about 5 prospects. Okay, Sheila, perhaps you can share in the group. Yeah, Sheila?
Yes, already.
Junior, thank you so much. Okay, so I think that's all for today. Sorry, I took a 5 minutes extra or 10 minutes extra. Okay, So any questions about this? No. No, madam. We need to go out for groceries. I need to go for shopping. My friend asked me to go for makan-makan, lepak-lepak. All right. So there will be, okay, for next week during tutorial, there will be another assessment. Okay, relax. Okay, I don't want to push you a lot of things because we're still on a theory part. There will be another assessment tutorial. Please log in during your tutorial time to complete the assessment. Okay, I know students very stressed. Betul tak, Amir?
Boleh lah.
Herna, do you so stress at home? Stress tak?
Yes, madam.
Stress. Okay. Just imagine myself. I also